In 1941, as World War II was raging at its fiercest, a man named Richard Sorge was living and working in Tokyo, Japan. He held German citizenship and was a journalist with extensive connections in the German diplomatic circles in Tokyo. But few knew that behind this facade, Sorge was actually one of the Soviet Union's most brilliant spies. This story is based on officially verified and credible sources, including Owen Matthews' biography An Impeccable Spy, Richard H. Thau's The Spy Who Saved the World, declassified KGB archives, and in-depth articles from respected publications such as The Guardian, The New York Times, and Der Spiegel. Richard Sorge was born in 1895 in Baku, then part of the Russian Empire, into a well-off family. His father was German and his mother was Russian. Sorge, in his early 20s, fought in the German army and witnessed the horrors of trench warfare, blood, mud, and death. Those brutal experiences made him lose faith in nationalism. He began turning toward communism, believing it could bring about a fairer world. By the 1920s, Sorge had joined the German Communist Party and was soon recruited by the Soviet Union as a spy. KGB records describe him as intelligent, charismatic, and daring. In 1933, Moscow gave him a crucial mission: travel to Tokyo and build an intelligence network in the heart of enemy territory. His cover identity was that of a loyal, Nazi-aligned German journalist. According to The Spy Who Saved the World by Richard H. Thau, Sorge was not only adept at blending in, he became close friends with German officials at the embassy. He drank with them, attended parties, and was even invited to classified meetings.
In Tokyo, Richard Sorge skillfully built a spy network with operatives such as Hotsumi Ozaki, a Japanese journalist with deep connections in the government. Ozaki would pass on high-level meeting information, which Sorge turned into detailed reports sent back to Moscow. In May 1941, Sorge delivered a bombshell to Moscow. Hitler was preparing a full-scale invasion of the Soviet Union. This was a suspicion already on Soviet intelligence's radar, but Stalin refused to believe it. He thought Hitler would never be foolish enough to fight on two fronts and dismissed all warnings. Then, in September of that same year, Sorge sent another vital message. Japan would not attack the Soviet Union from the east. Instead, the Japanese military was turning its focus to the Pacific, particularly areas under U.S. and Western influence. This meant the USSR would not have to fight a two-front war as previously feared. Upon receiving this message, Stalin acted immediately. Tens of thousands of Red Army troops stationed in frigid Siberia to guard against a possible Japanese attack were ordered to move westward. They arrived in Moscow just as German forces were closing in on the capital. Winter was setting in, and Soviet reinforcements were desperately needed. The Battle of Moscow in late 1941 marked the first major turning point in World War II. Without those battle-hardened Siberian divisions, the Soviet capital might have fallen. And had Moscow collapsed, the entire course of the war, and possibly the world, could have changed. Sorge, a man thousands of miles from the front lines, helped save a city and a nation through encrypted messages alone. His life was a perilous drama. He drank heavily. He engaged in dangerous affairs, at times with such recklessness that it worried those around him. Yet he never gave himself away. The Guardian once wrote that he was always one step away from being exposed. KGB files revealed that his encrypted messages were often sent under extreme conditions, sometimes from dark alleyways, sometimes under the watchful eyes of enemies. Richard Sorge was known for his magnetic personality, which he leveraged not only for espionage, but also in his personal relationships. His charm, good looks, and adventurous spirit made him attractive to women, but his romantic life was fraught with complications due to his covert activities and the dangerous environments he operated in. Early relationships and marriage in Germany. In the 1920s, while in Germany, Sorge married Christiane Gerlach, a young woman he met during his involvement with communist circles. According to An Impeccable Spy by Owen Matthews, 2019, their relationship was passionate but strained by Sorge's growing commitment to communism and his frequent absences for covert work. The marriage eventually dissolved as Sorge's espionage career took him abroad and Christiane faded from his life. Matthews notes that Sorge's dedication to his cause often took precedence over personal relationships, leaving little room for stability. Romances in Tokyo. In Tokyo, Sorge's romantic life became even more entangled with his espionage. He was known for his playboy lifestyle, frequenting bars and engaging in numerous affairs. The Spy Who Saved the World by Richard Thau, 1998, describes Sorge as a heavy drinker who used social settings, including romantic liaisons, to gather intelligence. One significant relationship was with Hanako Ishii, a Japanese woman who worked at a bookstore. According to Target Tokyo, The Story of the Sorge Spy Ring by Gordon W. Pronge, 1984, Hanako was deeply devoted to Sorge, unaware of his true identity as a Soviet spy. Their relationship was genuine on her part, but for Sorge it also served as a cover to blend into Tokyo society. Sorge's affairs weren't limited to Hanako. He was rumored to have romanced women connected to the German embassy, including wives and mistresses of Nazi officials. The Guardian, an article from 2003, The Spy Who Loved Danger, notes that these relationships were both a source of intelligence and a risk, as his indiscretions could have exposed him. His ability to charm women in diplomatic circles gave him access to gossip and secrets that bolstered his reports to Moscow.
Recklessness and emotional complexity. KGB archives, partially declassified and referenced in Matthews's An Impeccable Spy, reveal that Sorge's handlers were concerned about his romantic recklessness. His affairs, often conducted under the influence of alcohol, risked blowing his cover. For instance, he once left sensitive documents in a lover's apartment, a lapse that could have been catastrophic. Despite this, Sorge maintained an almost uncanny ability to avoid detection, as noted in Der Spiegel, 1964 article, The Man Who Saved Moscow. Sorge's relationships were not purely strategic. Hanako Ishii, in particular, seemed to evoke genuine affection. After his arrest in 1941, Hanako visited him in Sugamo prison, unaware of his espionage until much later. Prange's book recounts her heartbreak upon learning the truth, highlighting the emotional toll of Sorge's double life. Impact on his espionage. Sorge's romantic entanglements were a double-edged sword. They provided access to elite circles, German diplomats, Japanese officials, and their social networks, but also drew scrutiny. The New York Times, 1999 article, A Spy's Shadowy Legacy, suggests that his relationships with women in Tokyo's high society were instrumental in maintaining his cover as a carefree journalist, yet they also made him a target of suspicion by Japan's Thau, who eventually unraveled his network. In October 1941, Japan's secret police, the Thau, finally tracked down his spy network. Sorge and his associates were arrested. KGB files recount his final days. He was interrogated, tortured, but never confessed a single secret. In November 1944, he was executed at Sugamo Prison in Tokyo. At the time, no one knew who he truly was. Later, Der Spiegel would write that he saved Moscow, but died forgotten. It wasn't until nearly 2 decades later, when classified documents were declassified, that the Soviet Union publicly acknowledged Sorge's role. He was posthumously awarded the title Hero of the Soviet Union in 1964. Historians, journalists, and intelligence agencies began re-examining his case, and more people came to agree. Richard Sorge was one of the greatest spies of the 20th century. The New York Times once wrote, "He was the ghost who changed history." And indeed, from the heart of Tokyo, thousands of kilometers from Moscow, one man, a spy, quietly turned the wheels of global fate. If you found this story fascinating, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you won't miss more gripping true stories coming your way.